therefore meaning that there was more than enough space in between him and my entire family for any of them to be considered a danger threat to him to justify him emptying his entire clip. Number 3, my entire family was unarmed, another reason not to shoot. Number 4, as you can see in that grainy video, my entire family was fleeing away from you, hence why 4 out of your 6 shots that went into my family were in their backs. Number 5, a person's back to you is the most vulnerable and least threatening position they can be in, yet Officer Sanchez decided to shoot anyways. Number 6, my parents were doing the job for you, the job of de-escalating the situation, something you as a police officer are trained to do. Number 7, if my brother was the one who hit you, what on earth did my parents do to deserve the shooting? How did the grand jury excuse that one? Number 8, yesterday at the district attorney's press conference, Mr. Hestron mentioned multiple times that there was less than 4 seconds from the hit to when the first shot was fired. How did you get this info, sir? Your analysis team? How did they get that info, considering the hit wasn't even captured under surveillance? Did you just take the suspect's word as a fact? Number 9, out of the 10 shots that you fired, 4 of them was missed. That is 40% of the bullets that you fired into an open crowd. What if it hit more innocent victims? Lastly, to Mr. Hestron and his team, now put yourself in our shoes. You are telling us and the public that a police badge is a permit to shoot and kill without any consequences or accountability. That is what you confirmed and told myself, my family, and the public yesterday. When my wife and I went to Costco the day after we found out, we were told by multiple employees stated that the video they watched was, and I quote, cold-blooded murder. How could the grand jury dismiss that? Thank you.
Thank you. That was Kevin French, the only brother and sibling of Kenneth French. We will take some questions briefly, if you have them now. For those of you who wanted to do a follow-up discussion with the family or me, we will try to make them available. Afterwards, we have a room across the way and we'll try our best to accommodate you. Does anyone have any particular questions now?
Kevin, if I may, on the video, you did not see the video, correct, Kevin?
Correct.
Okay. You're convinced then that the video that you're talking about was not played yesterday and we have no idea if the grand jury saw that?
Based on the information I have at this time, I think there's a very strong likelihood there is another video that has not been shown to the public yet.
Even though the district attorney said all the evidence was laid on the table?
That is correct.
Can you talk about what your clients told the grand jury?
I'm not allowed to get into it specifically.
Can they talk about it?
I don't think they can, because I think they have the grand jury people make certain statements before they leave the stand, but I can tell you that about half of the questioning was about things other than the incident, which concerned us. And I've earlier made a proffer of my client's recollection that Paula French saw a movement that she describes more as a push than a strike. She then saw the officer on the ground on his buttocks pulling out a gun. She said, "Please don't shoot, please don't shoot." He announced himself as a police officer. Kenneth French looked, said, "Do not shoot, my son is sick." And at some point after that, the officer opened fire. And it's believed that Paula French was struck first in the back, then Kenneth French, and then Russell French, and lastly, Kenneth French, who was furthest away at the time of the shooting.
Have you had any contact with either the sheriff's office or with the United States Attorney's Office here in Los Angeles or in Riverside County as to possibly taking over a prosecution or examining this possible criminal prosecution?
We have not yet. We wanted to let this play out, but that will be the next step that will be pursued.
Which way do you think it's going to go? Do you want the AG would be their purview, or do you feel it would be beneficial federal?
We would welcome either one. We want to present the case to both of them. And I think from the family's perspective, they would be happy if there's some criminal prosecution, no matter what agency it is.
Can you describe your description of what you saw in the video? And for instance, was that Mr. French in the red shirt that we saw in the video? And what were the actions they were taking? It looked like they may have been pulling Kenneth, or can you kind of describe what you interpreted, based on what they told you, what you interpreted from it?
I think that the brother Kevin could probably answer that question better than I did, so maybe he can step forward and tell them what you believe you see in the video.
Sure. So, as I stated, in that video, you cannot see at all Salvador Sanchez. But what you can see is those two individuals would be my dad and my only brother. My mom was shot first. If you look at the bottom of the grainy video, you'll see her falling first, right at the bottom of the screen. Then my dad after, and then he emptied his clip in my brother, who, like I said, was the furthest away from Salvador Sanchez.
And that was your dad in the red shirt, looking like a red shirt on the video?
I don't have the video in front of me, but
Yeah.
those two parties that were in the video was my father and my dad. I mean, my father and my brother.
And what did he tell you? It's good. They come into frame, and it was your father is in front.
Yeah, my father was doing the job of de-escalating, which is saying my son is sick, don't shoot, and that's what he was trying to do.
Was he pushing Kenneth away at that point?
He was getting him away, de-escalating. As you saw in the video, no one was on top of the officer. They were quite a distance. I don't know the specifics, but they were quite a distance, and I can guarantee my brother was the furthest from Salvador Sanchez.
Kevin, your father said that he's disappointed in the system. You, correct me if I'm wrong for assuming this, but you're very angry. Are you more angry, disappointed, disgusted?
I'm upset. I'm disappointed. I thought no one is above the law. That's what makes this country great. And I was let down. I'm disappointed. I'm heartbroken. That was my only brother, and now he's gone. Nothing is going to bring him back, and there's no accountability. So I'm heartbroken. His birthday is coming up in less than 2 weeks, and now we've got to go to his gravesite.
So there's no doubt in your mind that this officer got away with murder?
I have no. I didn't go to law school. I don't know, but based on the facts of this case, none of them were unarmed. None of them were posing an imminent threat. None of them were on top of him. And as you saw in the video, you can't even see Salvador Sanchez, which clearly means that there was a fair amount of distance if you can't see him in the frame.
Based off of the grand jury questioning, is your position that it almost seems as though Kenneth was being prosecuted for this crime as much as Salvador was?
Well, being a lawyer, most proceedings are open to the public, and there's attorneys on both sides, and people can see what's going on. In a grand jury, it's not open to the public. There's only one side, and I can just tell you, if a certain side is trying to get a certain result and no one's watching, there's a good chance that they can get that result by who they pick on the jury, by how they present the evidence, and what they say in their closing remarks. I just think most people are shocked at the fact that there was not one charge that they came back on, which makes me highly doubtful of how this was presented to them.
So do you believe that it was basically political cover to set up the grand jury in the first place?
I do.
Is there any indication that the video that was released is indeed the actual video? And it may have been compressed, contracted, part of the frames removed, who knows?
We are not clear, but I can assure you we will follow up on that in every way we can, including with Costco, and we're hoping to get the truth and seeing what video footage there is and getting it all.
Have you directed any questions to Costco management regarding, as you said, that second camera that was overhead?
That is in the process. Costco initially told me they turned over the videos they had, and now we're trying to find out what exactly did they turn over. Yes?
You seemed to indicate earlier that you thought maybe not only did the DA use a grand jury as kind of cover, but maybe possibly stack the deck as a selection of who was on that grand jury. Is there anything?
You know, obviously, I'm speculating to a degree. That's all I know is based on the general facts. One would think it'd be likely you get an indictment on some of the charges, if not all of them. to get no indictment on any charge really makes you wonder how it was presented. And I'll leave it at that. Yes?
Just a question to the family. We focused a lot on the trauma and the horrible experience that you went through. Is there anything that you would like to let us know about Kenneth, just as a human being, as a person, a mother or Kevin or father?
Like I said before, Kenneth was an extremely caring, kind, gentle. He was a full adult at 32. Never had situations like this. And it breaks my heart that he died with his first encounter with a gun. I don't think he deserved it. He was a gifted student, exceptional as a child, as a grandchild, as a cousin. As you can see, we have a large family. Even people that have known him in his medical treatment are willing to vouch for him. And that is here in the US. So to me, that says it all. He had an impact despite him not being completely verbal. So I have nothing to say in terms of, him being aggressive, because that's never who he was. And it breaks our heart that he had such a sad end at 32. And then to see both his parents shot, he made 2 attempts to get up, but impossible. And then we lost him. So as a mom, it's the worst case scenario for me and my family. I'm just so sad this happened here. I'm really devastated. And I wouldn't wish this on any child, disabled or normal, because normal people are doing this. Not acceptable. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say also, my brother's last thing that he saw was my mom get shot in her back, my dad then get shot, and then him have a whole clip empty, 3 of them hitting him in his back, 1 in his shoulder. He tried to get up twice, and unfortunately, as you can see in the video, he then bled to death in front of both my parents, slowly and painfully, which I would never wish on anyone, and I promise you I would never want this pain to go through any other family, ever.
Dale,
Yes?
Dale, we're here.
Yes?
All the material at this point. Do you suppose there's ever going to be a point where we know what triggered that encounter, why there was a confrontation, why the officer was pushed?
Yes. So the point will be, because at least for now, the criminal investigation is over, they decided not to press charges, we're going to file the lawsuit, and I'm going to notice the officer's deposition. And I have 7 hours I'm allotted. I'll videotape it, and I'm going to find out exactly what his story is, and I'm going to compare it to whatever statements he gave earlier, including some that we talked about. And I'm also going to do everything I can to get every bit of investigation, every witness that was in Costco, make sure they're all interviewed, deposed, find out what happened with that video camera, etc. So I imagine as time goes on, there's going to be a lot of information that will be released to the public, and we'll know a lot more than we do right now. So, yes, Dave? You good? Is everyone good? I thank you all so much, unless anyone has a question, and then we'll take a short break and we'll make ourselves available if any of you need any follow-up. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the light, Dave. Thank you, Rosa. Joe Studley.